Once the most prosperous area in Gaza Strip, the Gaza City has now been reduced to merely rubble. Hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians were living here in makeshift camps, struggling to survive amid the ongoing conflict. Now they face redisplacement. The Israeli Defense Forces or IDF have paused their intense bombing campaign over Gaza City, but not for the good measure, but they have shifted tactics under orders from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Rather than rely solely on aerial bombardment, Israeli ground forces have taken control of Gaza City's outskirts and are making a determined push into the densely populated central districts. This marks a critical phase in Israel's military operation dubbed Gideon's Chariots 2. This is also merely the first phase of the planned offensive. This large-scale ground operation aims to encircle Gaza City, eliminate Hamas militants, rescue Israeli hostages held inside, and establish full Israeli security control. Israel has mobilized some 60,000 reservists for this offensive, with reports suggesting that even more troops may be called in the upcoming days. These reservists are set to join forces by early September. However, reports have emerged that many of them have written to Netanyahu asking for exemption from integration into the forces. The Prime Minister's office indicated that Netanyahu has shortened the timeline for this operation, underscoring the urgency of the military campaign intended to neutralize Hamas's stronghold in Gaza. The fighting has intensified not only on the ground but also in the humanitarian sphere. Gaza's people are bearing the brunt of this conflict. The Strip, home to nearly 2.3 million people, is grappling with dire crisis. According to the latest UN reports, 81% of Gaza's households face severe food shortages and food insecurity, a staggering figure that highlights widespread hunger, malnutrition, and systematic starvation of those in the Strip. Acute malnutrition is rising, especially among vulnerable groups such as children and the elderly. Access to clean water, medical supplies, and electricity remain critically limited due to ongoing blockades by Israel and the destruction of infrastructure by it. The death toll continues to mount. Since the current escalation, more than 62,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of them civilians, trapped in the urban warfare zones, including children that is, while millions remain displaced and hundreds of thousands injured or permanently disabled. This military campaign is not merely a tactical maneuver but part of a broader, deeply controversial scheme often referred to as the Greater Israel Plan. This idea envisions Israel expanding its territory and influence, including the consolidation of Palestinian lands such as the West Bank and now parts of Gaza, through military and political means. The maps of so-called Greater Israel also show the idea of integrating, or rather taking over, parts of Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, and even Egypt. For Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, this operation holds profound political implications. Netanyahu, one of Israel's longest-serving leaders, has built much of his political career on a strong security agenda and a hardline stance against Hamas and Palestinian groups. However, his political future now hinges on the success or failure of this particular operation. A failed war in Gaza, marked by high Israeli casualties, prolonged conflict, or inability to achieve clear objectives, could effectively end Netanyahu's political career. The stakes are immense for him personally. Political opponents and a large segment of Israel's public have already begun voicing their dissent. In recent days, widespread protests have erupted within Israel itself, signaling a troubling divide back at home. Thousands of Israelis, including families of soldiers, peace activists, and opposition politicians, have taken to the streets demanding an end to this brutal Gaza war. Protesters accuse Netanyahu of pursuing a devastating war that endangers innocent lives on both sides and derails prospects for a lasting peace. They also criticize the government for prioritizing militaristic ambitions over humanitarian concerns. The protests reflect a growing impatience and unrest among Israelis who fear the conflict may spiral further out of control, stretching the country's resources and moral fabric. Many see the continued violence as a costly mistake with no clear endgame. In response to the Israeli offensive, Hamas has condemned Israel's ground operation as a blatant disregard for international efforts at a ceasefire and hostage deal. Mediated by Egypt and Qatar, the latest ceasefire offers aimed to de-escalate tensions and negotiate the release of hostages held by Hamas. Hamas accuses Netanyahu of being the real obstacle to peace, accusing him of ignoring mediators' proposal and showing no concern for the lives of either Israeli hostages or Palestinian civilians. The international community has reacted with alarm as the conflict intensified. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has repeatedly called for an immediate ceasefire to prevent further loss of life and to allow humanitarian aid to reach those in desperate need. Guterres stressed that the cycle of hostilities can only be broken by negotiations and humanitarian considerations rather than ground offensives and military escalations. As IDF troops move deeper into the Gaza City, the situation remains fluid and precarious. The operational challenges are immense. Urban warfare in a densely populated city is notoriously difficult and costly, with the risk of high casualties on all sides. The unfolding military events will not only shape the future of Gaza, but will likely define the regional balance of power and Israel's internal political landscape. The prospect of protracted bloody war could undermine Netanyahu's ambitions of cementing his legacy. On the other hand, a decisive Israeli victory, which is highly unlikely, could strengthen his position and advance the controversial Greater Israel vision. For the people of Gaza, though, the immediate concerns are far more basic: food, shelter, water, and safety. The world watches anxiously as the conflict enters this new and dangerous phase, hoping that diplomacy and humanitarian efforts can soon halt the suffering and pave the way for peace. We will continue to bring you updates as the situation unfolds. I am Gunjan Handa for the Asian Chronicle.